you? Like, what is the definition of financial independence for you?
In terms of what would make me financially independent is about $1 million. In some sense, I'm already financially independent given where I live, but I don't want to be financially independent in Bhilai. I want to be financially independent without the constraint in Bhilai. I'm all set to get financially independent in 2025. And this doesn't account for the investments that I have in startups, investments that I have in cryptos, or any inheritance that I might get. And all of them are reasonably significant.
So $1 million, magic number sounds great. How do you define that this is the goal? What did you take into account for this?
Simple calculation to it. While my household expense is about 50,000 a month, but that's not the lifestyle I would live regularly, right? So while I can live at a 50,000 a month, but a reasonable number would be 1.5 lakhs a month. So yearly that becomes about 18 lakhs multiplied by 30. At that rate, you would be able to draw your money for the rest of your life.
Right.
So that's about 5.5 crores. A crore for kids' education, that's 6.5 crores. Another crore for things going wrong because you could have not estimated some things right. Half a crore as a rounding error, making it $1 million. In any case, I do not intend to stop working when I become financially independent. So in my head, even if this number is off, right? So even if $1 million is off, nothing really changes because I would continue to behave and act like in a very, very similar fashion.
And if I remember correctly, you started working in 2006. So from that, in that journey, 2006 to today, right? What has been the timeline or like the journey in terms of your income, if you can throw some light on those numbers?
So yeah, in 2006, as part of the campus placement, salary from my first job was about 3 lakhs a year. By the time I quit, I was making about 35 lakhs. So I started as an actuarial consultant in 2017. I would now switch from lakhs to dollars because I earn most of my money in dollars. Currently what I make, that is a 6-figure dollar amount. I work about 7 hours in a day. Half of it is what I do as part of consulting.
Right.
And half of it goes towards Protect Me Well, which makes a very small proportion of my income, right? So it's only roughly 3 hours a day, 6 days a week that I spend on income generating activity.
So the one thing as a question, which all our viewers would also probably have is, more details on actuarial sciences and what an actuary actually does.
When I qualified, the average time to qualify was 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah. I took 9. At this point in time, in India, we have about 600 odd fellows. I'll first talk about what actuaries do. In one word, we make financial sense of future. People like me would price and design insurance products that you and I buy.
Okay.
So that's a term insurance product or a medical insurance product. What is the premium that we charge so that we can offer the benefit that we offer in a way that it makes sense for the end customer, makes sense for the shareholders, it makes sense for the agents to sell it. And once these policies are sold, claims would come at some point in time, right? So how much money do we set aside now so that when the claim comes, we are able to pay it comfortably?
Right.
So these are the two important things actuaries do in an insurance setting. Wherever there is a money and a risk involved, we can bring a lot of value.
In terms of your financial independence, how do you sort of define it? When did that thought sort of come into your head that I want to become financially independent? And how has that journey been and where are you at this point in time?
I started thinking about it about 5 years ago when I was 32. You got name, you got money coming in. For example, I was also featured in Fox Business News in US, got opportunity to present in large conferences, 1,000 people from 15 countries. You had independence, you were living life out of suitcase because you're traveling frequently. Within 1 year of me starting on my own. And this should result in happiness, right? Because you were doing everything that you would aspired for, but it did not. So then I realized maybe what I'm doing is probably not right. What I'm aspiring for or gunning for is not right. Started meditating. The COVID also happened. Got more chance to think about it. Things changed when I read one of the tweets of D. Muthukrishnan. He said he's financially independent and he's cancelling his term insurance plan because he doesn't need one.
Wow.
That kind of further cemented my journey. I had gotten to a point where I had everything but not control on my time, which is what most people crave, and I did as well.
So what was the reason behind the move to Bhilai, and how has that sort of worked out in the last couple of years?
On my consulting side of things, I did not have any Indian client. On Protect Me Well, it was still shaping up. Both my parents and parents-in-law live in Bhilai. And then COVID also happened, right? The income I did not see reducing in any way. And it would have also meant that I had lesser pressure to make more money.
Even after all that, what are some of the challenges which you face working from there?
The downside is largely, I do not have a social circle. Because anyone who is of my age and is reasonably good is not in the city.
Correct.
Or not in the town. Because he obviously had better opportunities.
One of the things you mentioned was that, your parents as well as your in-laws were in Bhilai. And all of us actually usually have that regret either early on or later that, we've not spent a lot of time with our parents, with our family. Was that something which was a key factor apart from everything else in terms of moving to Bhilai? Of course, the stars were aligned, as you said. And has that given you the mental peace and satisfaction of being close to family while having almost nil impact on your finances per se?
Yeah, that was one of the factors. And I think it also has some sort of history. In 2016, when I was still with my corporate job, I had visited my parents in Diwali. And a day before Diwali, my father fell down and he had an injury in his head. My employers were kind enough to let me stay till whatever time I needed to be there. It was lucky that I was here and we could do things. But what if I was not there? Things could have been very, very different, right? You do all of it and you can't even be there when they need you the most. You'd probably have a guilt that you can't do anything about in your life.
You also mentioned that your idea of financial independence is separate from retirement, right? So the question automatically comes up, like, what is your idea of retirement and what is your retirement plan basically?
Financial independence is everything everyone on this earth should chase given opportunity. You have money to decide how you want to spend your day, each day, every day of the year and rest of your life. And retiring early is one of the options that you have once you become financially independent. It gives you an opportunity to pursue what you always wanted to do. It lets you take risks that you could not earlier. It gives you full control on your calendar and utilize it the way you want. And not doing anything is not probably the best utilization of your time. I don't see myself retiring. I would probably continue to do less of what I don't like doing and more of what I like doing. One of the things that I could see direct action to it is traveling a bit more, driving a bit more as opposed to flying down every time. And one of the things that I have in mind is to travel with a one-way ticket or not with an end date if I'm driving. If I go to place A, like it, can I extend it 2 days more? If I do not like it, can I cut it down and move to somewhere else or just go back? That's one of the things that I would like to do.
And has there been like a consistent learning and growth or even like a change in your pattern of investing from where you were before to where you are today?
Yeah. While I started quite late in terms of my age, I had, I would say, the right set of behavior in terms of living below the means. And that meant that what you earn and what you spend, the gap continued to increase, which meant a larger part of it continued to get invested, ensuring that I could aspire to get financially independent much earlier. But when I started thinking about financial independence more seriously, I realized that a lot of things that I'm doing is not right. And since then, I have cleaned up my portfolio. So I have 6 stocks, individual stocks, 4 mutual funds, investment in NPS, a PPF that I do not contribute to actively now, apart from, of course, some of the investment in startups and crypto that happened by chance because of the opportunities that presented to myself. But that's really all the investments that I have. Roughly 85% equity and 15% debt.
So keep it simple and keep it clean is where you are at right now. There are 2 questions I have in mind, but let's start with one. What have been like the lessons you've learned throughout this entire journey, right? And financial lessons even better so, which are sort of made you grow further?
Yeah, a few of them which I can recollect from top of my mind. One, the only money that you have is the money in your bank account, right? And the background that there is, I have exposure to crypto, I have exposure to startups, sizable, but I can't account for those for anything in any of my calculations because they may or may not exist tomorrow. The other important thing that I've realized is money is a tool, is not the end goal, right? While what one should aspire for, and I aspire for, is financial well-being, which means money to take care of your expenses and getting control over your time, but having health to enjoy that money, having social circle or people around you to celebrate your success with. So financial well-being would then become financial independence in terms of money, and then health and people around you as part of it.
Right.
And the third is the only way you could become financially independent is by ensuring that your money works harder than you do.
Brilliant words. So now if I come to my second question personally, which I'm interested in, right? I mean, I would want to take your advice in terms of how do I reach financial independence? So what would your advice be to someone who aspires to become financially independent? And is it something which cannot be done at a later stage? Is it something which needs to be planned early? Can someone do it even at, say, if they start at 35, 40? What's your advice on that?
Try and live a life which is sustainable, or at least ensure that your lifestyle doesn't catch up with your income, so that there's a room for investment. Invest more and have more exposure in equity. It doesn't need to be directly, it could be through mutual funds. And have patience for about 15-20 years, because that's what it typically takes, unless you are super lucky. In my case, I actually started chasing much later, but then I was also fortunate to start on a strong note. While it's a number, you get there, you probably feel better, but you start feeling the power of it much earlier.
Right.
So it's not that suddenly you hit a 1 million mark and life changes, right? You start feeling the power of it a lot earlier. For example, now I can choose to work lesser number of hours and still be confident that I would have a comfortable life. And I'm very strict about my time window that I work in. So it's 10 to 5. Anybody who seeks for my time beyond that, the first answer is clear no. There have also been instances when I realized that working with a certain client would mean additional dollar in the bank account, but would also cost my mental peace, and I've said politely no, that we can't.
Right.
So these are the things that you start doing when you realize that you're getting to a point where you have more control of your time and of your life. In my head, everyone should chase financial independence, even if it means starting at 40.